all the questions of our members very, very comprehensively. As you know, our committee, because that comes also to your introduction, I think the last part of your introduction, where you expressed your desire for also European solutions and a European approach to these kind of topics. Of course, this is what we are doing in this committee. We are concluding the work as we speak. It will be concluded next month normally, so I would also like to kindly invite you to stay up to date with the work of our committee, and don't hesitate to get proactively involved if you feel something is missing or something could be of added value. So thank you very much once again for being with us, and let's stay in touch in the future. Thank you very much. Then, I'm sorry, the connection was broken. I'm not sure if there was something else Ms. Seifert wanted to say.
If I may.
Yes, sure, please.
A very brief concluding. Union, the European Parliament and its bodies, alongside member states, are also political organs. And I understand this issue has been heavily politicized, particularly in Greece. And I'm sure it's probably also politicized in the context of the European Parliament. I get it. But honestly, there should be bipartisan consensus that when things like this happen, that put in jeopardy the fundamental rights, fundamental privacy rights of the European Union, that there is bipartisan consensus that something must be done. It's very clear now in the Greek context, and I'm sure in many others, that nation states cannot be trusted to be left alone to define national security as they please with no accountability and oversight, and use that definition in order to conduct abuses like we see in the Greek context. It's just unacceptable in the name of European values. And we saw the US recently put out an executive order regulating the use of such technology by its own authorities. It's shameful that the EU, which is at the forefront of privacy protection over the past few years, has been at the forefront of the rule of law for decades. It's shameful that the EU can do so little to intervene in cases like this, where we see uncontrovertible and egregious abuse that will not only jeopardize the rights of us, of targets, of citizens, but also backfire, cause harm in far-flung places like Sudan, and ultimately compromise the EU's own national and regional security interest. So I do implore you to put aside any political differences that are understandable given the context. I hate how this issue has been politicized in Greece, and listen to the victim of targets like myself, and find ways for bipartisan and multi-partisan consensus to move forward, creating EU standards and helping member states live up to their own duties to their citizens on this subject. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to tracking the outcome of the work of this committee.
Thank you very much, Ms. Seifert, for also that last statement, which I think most of us here will wholeheartedly agree to. That also concludes our first item exactly within the set timing. So we move to our second exchange of view, which we will have with Mr. Gonzalo Boye to set. Following the provisions governing the committees of inquiry of the European Parliament, Mr. Boye was informed that he was entitled to be heard by our committee, and he had made use of this opportunity. So also, Mr. Boye, we have tested your connection. There were some minor difficulties, but it should be good enough for our interpretation services here, hopefully. So I will also give you the floor for 10 minutes, after which we will again open the floor for questions and answers. And I would also again like to invite the colleagues to indicate if they would like to participate in the Q&A session. Please, Mr. Boye, you have the floor.
Good morning, Mr. President, honorable members of this committee, and thank you for inviting me to express my views and to answer whatever questions the committee may have. I'm a German citizen and a lawyer specialized in criminal law and human rights, and I have no doubt on the espionage suffered on my phone. And I have no doubts, and I have shared with you several documents that prove that, especially the recognition that was done during a period of at least 2 years by the Spanish state. I have been suffered an official espionage by the Spanish Secret Service, and another unofficial done through Pegasus, which was determined by Citizen Lab. The reason why I have been under espionage all this time is only one: the list of my clients, and on top of that list is Mr. Puigdemont, who is a member of this committee, and also several other Catalan independent politicians. I have never been, as far as I know, subject of espionage before, even with a list of clients in different countries. That may be a reason for a secret service to do it. But in this occasion, it was for a long period of time, and also with the authorization of the Supreme Court of Spain, which issued an order to spy several politicians and several lawyers. As far as we know, we don't know also if they have spied other journalists or other politicians, but at least we know a list of more than 20 by the Secret Service officially, and for security reasons, alleged security reasons. I don't know why a lawyer can have security reasons. And on the other hand, through Pegasus, we have been under espionage, at least 60-something people, according to Citizen Lab, and that has been proven. By spying me has not only affected my personal private life, which has been under scrutiny for the last 5 years since I started defending Mr. Puigdemont and his colleagues, but also it has implied espionage to a lot of other lawyers and also journalists. As a matter of fact, one of the periods that I was under espionage, I was held in meetings in Germany with other lawyers in very delicate cases, not related to Spain, which may have endangered those investigations. But also, don't forget that as a human rights lawyer, I also defend people in very risky situations in different places around the world. And all that information that I have shared with my clients, with local lawyers, and with journalists is information that whoever was spying us knows. First, I would like to make very clear the situation. There are two different espionage that we have suffered. One was authorized by the Supreme Court to the Spanish Secret Service, and the other one was with Pegasus, and I have absolute no doubt that this was done by the Spanish state, and because all the evidence pointed in the direction, but also because are the only one who has admitted that. In my case, the document that I have shared with you is also a recognition by the Supreme Court judge that he was authorizing my espionage. And interesting wise, that same judge was resolving at the same time that he was authorizing my espionage, he was resolving important process that affect Mr. Puigdemont, Mr. Comín, and Ms. Ponsatí, all members of this parliament. During the time that I was spied by the Spanish state, it is quite clear that it has also been affected the integrity of this chamber, because during that period of time, I have assisted and advised Mr. Puigdemont, Mr. Comín, and Mr. Ponsatí in front of the jury committee, and I have also attended the in-camera meetings of the jury committee in the process against Mr. Puigdemont, Mr. Comín, and Mr. Ponsatí. So at the same time that the Spanish Supreme Court was requesting the lifting of the immunity, illegally requesting the lifting of immunity of Mr. Puigdemont, Mr. Comín, and Ms. Ponsatí, I was under scrutiny, under espionage by the Spanish state. And I'm making a distinction between the state and the government because I always defend the presumption of innocence, and I would like to assume that the Spanish government was not involved, but state agents were clearly involved. Since we found out all this, I have presented a criminal complaint in the court of Madrid, where I live. Even as a German citizen, I live in Madrid. And until now, 8 months later, I have not received a single proper answer by that court, because as a pre-requirement to start an investigation against whoever was spying me, the court has requested me to surround my telephone to the Spanish police. So at the end of the day, saying to me that in order to demonstrate that I am a victim of a criminal offense, because in Spain it's a criminal offense to spy the people, I have to surround my phone to the state, which I have no doubt is responsible for the espionage to my phone. And I have no doubt, because there are documents to that, there are 2 Supreme Court resolutions, and there is the statement of the ombudsman, the Spanish ombudsman, not only recognizing that, but accepting that this is a sensitive case, because I'm the lawyer of the Catalan independent leaders who are members of this chamber. In my opinion, my case is crystal clear, but it's not different to the case of several other lawyers that were also affected. And strange-wise, or not strange-wise, but quite clearly, those lawyers also defend Catalan independent politicians. So it was an attack to the Catalan national minority, and that was also through the lawyers. But as I said before, and I would like to remind this committee of something, I not only defend Catalan independentist politicians, I also defend people whose human rights has been violated in many countries, and I work in those countries with local lawyers who has also been put in risk because of the espionage of my telephone. And that's, as I said before, has also affected my personal life, but we have our young daughter, 14 years old daughter, has also been affected by the espionage, and we have very strict methods at home in order not to keep the phones when we are having a family reunion or when we are having dinner. So we try to protect our private life as much as we can, but when you are facing this sort of attack by a state, it's almost impossible to protect, and that's the reason why I think this committee should go the whole road down in order to explain exactly what had happened and to find a common solution in the European frame. As a matter of fact, I am a lawyer who really believes in the rule of law and in the law, the European law, and that's my line of defense of Mr. Puigdemont, Mr. Ponsatí, Ms. Ponsatí, and Mr. Comín. And that's the reason why we have also informed the European Court of Justice of this espionage, because the time frame that I was under espionage, and I don't know if I still under espionage by the Spanish state, may have affect also the integrity of the procedure that we have both at the General Court and at the European Court of Justice. I think the damage is quite big, and if we don't respect this professional secrecy of the lawyers, we are not guaranteed a fair trial. And if we don't guarantee a fair trial, a due process, we don't have a democratic system. And I'm open to any questions that the members may want to ask me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boye. And just as a technical question, it would be helpful if you could, I'm not sure how, but prevent the microphone from touching the collar of your shirt, because that is a very disturbing sound when our interpreters need to interpret it. So sorry about that. Thank you for your presentation, and we will start our question and answers. And the first question goes to our rapporteur, Sophie Inetveldt.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you to Mr. Boye, I hope I pronounced it correctly, for being with us. I have 2 questions to you, and I already apologize to you and to the others here. I have to go to another meeting afterwards, so I cannot stay until the end. But I will read the report of this meeting. My 2 questions. I was a bit puzzled by the statement you made when you said you do not believe that the government was involved, but state agents or state agencies. But aren't state agencies under the control of the government? Or well, aren't they supposed to be under the control of the government? And if not, isn't that a problem in itself then? Secondly, the story about the judge who authorized your wiretapping and that of probably 17 other people, and maybe many more that we don't know, but in any case, the 18, and who was also at the same time the judge who was, if I understand correctly, on the panel looking into the question of the Catalan MEPs taking up their seat in the European Parliament. I heard about this story, but apparently there is some confusion, or there is no confirmation of the name of that particular judge or his involvement in either of the decisions. But of course, that is a very relevant fact, I would say, or in any case, a remarkable fact. Can you tell us if you have evidence that this particular judge has personally been involved in both? Is that accurate? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boye.
Thank you for the question, Ms. Bale. Yes, my family name is Boye, so there was no problem. First of all, I would like to start by your second question. There is a clear confirmation that the judge, Pablo Lucas Murillo, was the judge who was, in the morning, authorizing the espionage of my telephone and other Catalan independent leaders, and also some lawyers more. And in the afternoon, he was resolving the case of taking the seats by Mr. Puigdemont, Mr. Comín, and Ms. Ponsatí. The confirmation I have shared with this committee in the documents that I have sent this week as requested by the committee, or as offered by the committee, and you can see his personal admission that he was having both positions at the same time. This, for sure, is a systemic failure, because the judge who is in charge of authorizing interference by the Secret Service should not have jurisdictional functions in other case, but instead of moving aside, he not only remained in the court, but also he was the rapporteur of those decisions. So a key person in that case, Pablo Lucas Murillo. And it's in writing, and you have copy of that. No, regarding your first question, no. I haven't said that the Spanish government is not responsible for that. I may not have been very clear at that respect, but what I'm saying is that as a lawyer, I do respect the presumption of innocence, and until it's proven that the Spanish government was involved in this, I will assume that only certain services were involved, which we have evidence of that. I don't know how far the Spanish government was informed or involved in this, but in Spain, we are all aware of the existence of a sort of disengagement in certain areas between the Spanish government and state agencies or state agents. And this is also a systemic problem for Spain that has never been resolved since the end of the dictatorship. So after 45 years, they haven't been able to solve that problem, and we are reading that in the Spanish press every day. I don't know if that answers your question, but one thing more. The Spanish government do have responsibility. What I don't know if they were part of the criminal activity, but at least they have the responsibility, because at the end of the day, they are on the top of the chain of command. That's as simple as that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boye. Then Mr. López Aguilar.
Gracias. En primer término, quiero decirle al señor Boye que estamos aquí exactamente porque no solamente nos preocupa, sino nos parece inaceptable que puedan producirse transgresiones de los derechos fundamentales, violaciones de los derechos fundamentales protegidos por la Carta de Derechos Fundamentales de la Unión Europea. Y al mismo tiempo recabamos información sobre los marcos jurídicos imperantes en los estados de la Unión, entre ellos España. Y por tanto es perfectamente pertinente que este encuentro esté teniendo lugar por vía telemática con el señor Boye, en la medida en que su nombre aparece reflejado en la redacción del informe. Pero, en segundo lugar, quiero decir que de su mismo testimonio se pone de manifiesto que hay en España una ley orgánica, porque afecta a derechos fundamentales, y esta es la modalidad legislativa cuando se afecta a derechos fundamentales, que regula el control judicial de las actividades de los servicios de inteligencia, del Servicio Nacional de Inteligencia en España, y que requiere porque es cumplimiento de la Constitución, artículo 18, autorización judicial, la intervención de las comunicaciones. Y solo con intervención judicial es posible. Cualquier otra intervención de las comunicaciones no solamente es ilegal, sino delictiva. Artículo 497 del Código Penal español. Es delito intervenir comunicaciones telefónicas sin autorización judicial, pero en este caso hubo autorización judicial y exactamente por el magistrado al que la ley orgánica, Sala del Tribunal Supremo de lo Contencioso Administrativo, encomienda la responsabilidad del control judicial de los servicios de inteligencia españoles. Usted ha mencionado su nombre, pero es que es el magistrado competente. Pero en todo caso, mi pregunta se refiere al hecho de que, además de las intervenciones telefónicas autorizadas judicialmente, de manera motivada y limitadas en el tiempo, de acuerdo con lo dispuesto por la ley orgánica, cualquier otro exceso es delictivo y que comportan la responsabilidad de la directora de los servicios de inteligencia de destruir cualquier material que exceda del objeto de la investigación autorizada, usted ha señalado que además de las personas que el Centro Nacional de Inteligencia ha reconocido ante la Comisión competente de control parlamentario de los servicios de inteligencia en el Congreso de los Diputados tuvieron lugar de acuerdo con la ley, usted ha dicho que además otras 47 personas tuvieron lugar ilegalmente. ¿Existe alguna prueba de eso? Porque eso está en discusión. Y me gustaría recordar que en estos momentos hay varias investigaciones judiciales, porque de esto hablamos, del cumplimiento de la legalidad en España a este respecto, varias investigaciones judiciales en curso, incluso una en la Audiencia Provincial de Barcelona que ha requerido el testimonio de la directora de los servicios de inteligencia. Lo que quiere decir que la ley se está cumpliendo en todos sus términos en España. Pero lo que pregunto es, ¿existe alguna evidencia de que ese exceso, que se ha cuantificado en 47 intervenciones telefónicas, tuvieron lugar por parte de los servicios de inteligencia, cuando los servicios de inteligencia lo han negado y han reconocido, sin embargo, cuáles sí tuvieron lugar conforme a la legalidad y por autorización judicial, por tanto, con estricto control judicial del contenido de las intervenciones? Gracias.
Thank you, Mr. Boye.
Yes, thank you for the question. I think, first of all, there is a sort of confusion because there are two different periods of time in which I have been under espionage, and I insist it is espionage because the Secret Service cannot spy the citizens of a country just because they defend people who are in an opposition party or in an opposition political position. In this case, the only reason why I have been under espionage by the Spanish Secret Service is because I am the lawyer of Mr. Puigdemont, Mr. Comín, and Ms. Ponsatí and other Catalan independent leaders. That's not sufficient reason to spy on a lawyer, even with a court order, because a judge, according to the Spanish law, has to evaluate what is involved between the right of the secret of my communications, my professional secrecy, my private life, and what they're trying to do. What they're trying to do is just to find out information based on what we were defending. That's one thing. About the other thing, about the other cases, we have sufficient evidence of that. Mr. López Aguilar has perfectly said that there is ongoing investigations. Well, I will like to be a slightly more precise. There are open investigation or open criminal cases with no proper investigation until now. And as I was putting my example of the investigative judge from Madrid who has decided not to move a single paper until I surround my telephone. So this was a recriminalization of the victim because I'm the victim in this case, and they want also to go again into my telephone for the third time in order to see if one of them has spied me. This doesn't make any sense, and in any other criminal offense the victim will be protected. But I will agree with Mr. López Aguilar if they would have done something more active with the prosecutor office. The Spanish prosecutor office has not done anything in relation to the espionage to all the Catalan independent politicians, nor in the cases of the Spanish lawyers, and also me, I'm not a Spanish lawyer, but I'm an active lawyer in Spain, and they have only acted with regards to Mr. Pedro Sanchez and his Home Secretary and his Defense Secretary. In all other cases, the prosecutor office has not done anything. So we not only don't have the right to the secrecy of our communication, but we also don't have the right to a due process, an effective investigation. We have been waiting already a year for an effective investigation, and there is no effective investigation in Spain. And I can assume the reason why, because an effective investigation may bring us to a point where they don't want to be.
Thank you very much. Ms. Rosa Thun.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much for being with us, Mr. Boye. There are a few things that I don't really understand. There are two, so to say, group of people who were surveilled by the system, and some of them the services admit and the judges admit that they signed the permission and that they were bugged or spied upon, and some others not. They know it from Citizens Lab, and this is not recognized, I understand, by the authorities in Spain as a reliable source of knowledge. Citizens Lab is being very strongly criticized. Now, with this delivering, but what was yours also, your information comes only from the authorities, from this list of those where the judges admitted that they signed, or you also rely on the information of Citizens Lab? But my other question is, why did all those where the judges admitted that they signed and who were on this, so to say, official list, did they all have to deliver their phones for the second checkup, if already it is official that some of those persons were surveilled? Why again proving, and were they all demanded to deliver the phones? Did they do it, all of them, those who are on the official list? Or did they behave like yourself? And I agree with you that there is no logic whatsoever in this. Doesn't seem to be any, but maybe you can clarify it better.
Thank you, Mr. Boye.
Thank you, Ms. Thun. Mr. President, yes, there are two groups. One has been admitted by the former chief of the Spanish Secret Service, and also by the judges. As a matter of fact, I insist, I have shared documents, court documents with you in order to demonstrate what I'm saying. And there is another group that has been proven by Citizen Lab. Citizen Lab has been very criticized in Spain, especially by the Spanish media, certain medias, and by the Spanish authorities. But that's the same sort of critics that anybody who tells something that they don't want to hear, they receive. Nobody has challenged the information, properly challenged the information from Citizen Lab. And as a matter of fact, in my case, who has been spied in both ways, by the Central National Intelligence Agency with the court order due to security reasons or state reasons, and through Pegasus, in both cases, the court is asking me for the same, for the telephone. As a matter of fact, I am the only person who has been requested to surround the telephone until now, which is surprising because this is the re-victimization of the victim. And I don't want to use other examples of other sort of crimes, but this is ununderstandable, and they know that I will not surround my telephone. I refuse to do it. I put it in writing, and I will not do it because I have a commitment with all my clients. I will not surround my telephone. If that implies that I don't have the right to an effective investigation, then I will have no right to an effective investigation, at least in Spain.
Thank you very much. Diana Riba Guinel.
Thank you very much, Chair. Gracias, Boye, por estar aquí hoy con nosotros. Voy a hacer un par de preguntas. En primer lugar, si nos podías contar y podías dar más información si la tiene, de en qué punto se encuentran los distintos procesos judiciales, a remarcar dónde están los distintos procesos judiciales relativos a todos los que estamos en la lista de los 65, si tienes más información. Creo que también se podría enfatizar un poco más en, más allá de que haya un orden judicial, ¿qué otros pasos se tendría que hacer cuando una persona tiene un orden judicial y ha sido espiada o está siendo investigada? Hay un momento que esta investigación se acaba. ¿Cuáles serían los siguientes pasos? ¿Se tendría que informar a estas personas por qué causa se las está espiando? ¿Cuál es la acusación? Un poco los siguientes pasos, porque creo que hay una confusión en el comité en que se termina todo porque hay una orden judicial. Tendrían que haber muchos otros pasos para que esto sea legal. Entonces, si nos podría explicar un poco más los siguientes pasos que tendría que hacer el CNI o los distintos órdenes judiciales españoles para clarificar la supuesta legalidad de este grupo de 18. Porque también nos sorprende cómo puede ser legal que se espíen, por ejemplo, a abogados o a políticos que están en activo y tienen inmunidad o los abogados que están en activo. También si nos podría dar más información o su opinión sobre el control y la rendición de cuentas de las operaciones del CNI en el Estado español. Y por último, si las personas, como por ejemplo en mi caso, que han sido espiadas de las 47 y tenemos un informe de Citizens Lab, si tiene conocimiento de otras, porque no sea solo mi caso, de que este espionaje también ha sido contrastado por otras agencias que no sean solo Citizens Lab. En mi caso, que estoy ya en el proceso judicial, también ha sido el perito judicial quien ha acreditado que este móvil ha sido infectado. Por lo tanto, si sabe que no solo hay la investigación de Citizens Lab, sino en otros casos si se ha contrastado estos móviles con otros casos como el peritaje en el juzgado. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Mr. Boye.
Yes, I will try to go in order. I mean, there is absolutely no legal ground to spy people because of their political ideas, nor because of defending people who has opposite political ideas to the government or to the main parties in Spain. I mean, so even when the law allowed, in certain cases, to tap the phones, the reason cannot be or should not be or must not be that they are members of a political party or a national minority. So taking from that point, all the espionage was illegal. That authorized by Judge Pablo Lucas Murillos and the one done with Pegasus. Both are illegal. In order of the criminal investigation, this seems like an obstacle race, because a hurdle race, because we lawyers are facing tremendous difficulties to move forward in the different investigation. Until now, I have talked only about mine, but I represent at least other 20 victims of Pegasus. Those victims, the only criminal offense that they might have committed is to be, well, two criminal offenses. One to be Catalan and the other one to be politicians from an independent party, independentist party. So if that's enough to spy a person, this is not a democratic system. And of course, as Ms. Rivas has just said, for sure, we are not only relying on Citizen Lab, we all have requested other independent technical evidence and also expert reports. Citizen Lab has made a tremendous job, and they have been the organization that make aware of this scandal, but they are not the only one who has demonstrated that. So we have solid evidence in order to demonstrate that we have been spied with Pegasus and also by the Central National Agency, with intelligence agency, with the authorization of the judge of the Supreme Court. And we will be more than happy to demonstrate that in a court of law as soon as a court of law takes serious investigation on these cases. We lawyers who are defending victims are somehow coordinated in order to see what each one is getting in each different court, because the jurisdiction in Spain is subject to the place where the crime has been committed. And in these sort of crimes, mainly it has been committed in the place where the people used to live or work. In my case, it's Madrid, others are in Barcelona, others in Girona, others maybe in Belgium, and in my case also in Germany, because I was a spy while I was also in Germany working with different colleagues. So we have a broad spectrum of jurisdictions that we are approaching, and we are going to approach some others, but of course not only based on Citizen Lab report, but on other technical reports.
Thank you very much, Mr. Puigdemont. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Boye. I have some concrete questions, and for sure your concrete answer will have this committee work. So first of all, to be precise, do you have any sort of confirmation that you have been spied on? First. Second, concrete, in which period of time have you been spied on according to the information available to you? Third, during the period in which you were spied on, in which proceedings were you working as a lawyer? 4, were you spied on during periods when you were in your home country, Germany? 5, was this espionage in Germany likely to have affected other German lawyers and sensitive cases before German courts? 6, during the period in which you were subject to espionage, could professional secrecy also have been breached in proceedings before this House and or before European and international courts? 7, why you have stated on several occasions that you have been spied on by the Spanish state or Spanish government, if it's the case? 8, which Spanish authorities have confirmed that you have been spied on? 9, is there any legal basis in Spain for espionage to which you have been subjected? And finally, to what extent the espionage you have been suffered had consequences for the proceedings you are defending? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Boye. 10 questions. Good luck.
Well, I took some notes and I will try to be very specific and very quick. The confirmation I have shared with this committee in terms of judicial orders and a statement from the Spanish ombudsman, who also admitted that, but among others, the same judge, Pablo Lucas Murillo, there is a writing from him, and there is a resolution of the third chamber of the Supreme Court, who admitted that that was the case in relation to the espionage with authorized to the Spanish Central Intelligence Agency. According to the information we have, I have been under espionage by the Central Intelligence Agency for 1 year and 3 months during 1919 and the last quarter of 1919 and 2019 and the whole 2020, and after that I was a spy with Pegasus. During that period of time, mainly in Spain, the most important cases were, of course, your case, Mr. Puigdemont, and the case of your colleagues, Mr. Comín and Ms. Ponsatí, but also the case of President Torra, your successor in the presidency of Catalonia, after you have been deposed by the Spanish government. I have been spied during the period of time that I was under espionage. I have been on several occasions in Germany, of course, in all those visits to Germany, I don't go to see only my family, but I also go to work, and I have a clear agenda of the concrete meetings that I have had with different German colleagues in terms of other very sensitive cases, extremely sensitive cases where people are risking their life. And during that period of time, I was under espionage with Pegasus. The professional secret, not only mine has been affected, but also of the lawyers that are in those meetings with me in Germany and also in Spain, and also in the own law firm where I work. I mean, we were all under espionage only by spying through my telephone. And this is quite clear, and this is the devastating effect of this espionage, because it's not only affect me and my family, but a lot of professionals and a lot of victims of different cases. This violation of my secret has been confirmed on different ways. Everything that is official, this committee got it in writing, and I just sent the Spanish resolutions, but it can be translated for the members who don't speak Spanish. But there is the confirmation of that. The Spanish Ombudsman, the own judge who was authorizing, the former chief of the Secret Service, the third chamber of the Spanish Supreme Court has confirmed it. Who else do they want to confirm it? But also, somehow the government has accepted that. Legal basis for this? There is no legal basis in Spain. There is a law that allowed to investigate using electronic means, which not only comprise telephone, but also computers, also other technical devices like car trackings and things like that. But in all those cases, there is a need of a serious criminal offense. And in terms of the Central National Intelligence Agency, I don't know how they are thinking that a political group defended by specific lawyers can be a danger for the security of their country. This is no legal basis. There is no legal grounds, and without legal grounds, there is no legal basis. I make a distinction of government and state because sometimes the government don't have control of the state, and sometimes the state have control of the government. And I'm a lawyer, and I do respect the presumption of innocence of the government of Mr. Pedro Sanchez, and I think he has the right to demonstrate that he has nothing to do in this, and the prosecutor office can help him in demonstrate that he has nothing to do with him. But trying to protect the people who did it, of course, doesn't help in that direction. And I make that distinction, which maybe doesn't exist, but I cannot stop being a lawyer. And as a lawyer, I do respect the presumption of innocence. What is absolute clear is that I have been under espionage and that my secrets, professional secret, has been violated. Consequence? Well, the consequences are in the process where every time that we went in one direction, they were already waiting us in that direction. And this is something that happened also with the jury committee, and that has also affected the integrity of your process of waiving the immunity, and the process of waiving the immunity of Mr. Comín and Ms. Ponsatí, and has also affected the integrity and the secrecy of the procedure that we are having at the European Court of Justice and at the European General Court, among other courts. So at the end of the day, some people knew about your cases exactly what I knew about those cases and what you knew about those cases. And those people were not part of your defending team. So I don't know how clear I should be, but they knew everything that we were doing. And that's once again, that's not a democratic way of handling process that should have never been criminal process, but political confrontation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boye. That was the end of the questions from our colleagues. I want to thank you very much for being available to meet with us and for your making use of the opportunity to be heard by this committee. As I said to our previous guest as well, we will be concluding our work here in the inquiry committee. We will vote on the report in the committee on the 8th of May. So feel free to closely follow us and to proactively reach out to us if you feel things are missing or you have information of added value. And thank you for sending the information that you have referred to. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. And just a short word to say that I will be updating the committee in the ways that I may be able to do it. And I really think that it's important the work you're doing, because myself and my defendants, my clients, member of this chamber, we all believe in the rule of law, and we all believe in a united Europe, a Europe of freedom and a Europe of respect of certain rights that are inevitable, are the key factor of Europe and a democratic state. We are asking your protection, the protection of this parliament and the protection of the European institutions against this abuse committed either only by the state or by the state and the Spanish government. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And then we continue to point 5 on our agenda, which are the mission reports for the mission to Cyprus and Greece, the mission to Hungary, and the mission to Spain. It's formally mandatory to have a reporting back. You have all received the reports. There are 65 pages in total. I'm not going to read them out to you. I'm also not going to summarize them, because that would only undermine the comprehensibility of the reports as such. But if there's anybody who would wish to take the floor, I know there are several colleagues here who were present during some of these missions. Feel free to do so. If not, we just consider it formally done. The same goes for the minutes that we need to formally approve. If there are no comments on those, I also accept them as formally approved. And then I just have to say that our next meeting will be on the 8th of May in Strasbourg at 7 o'clock for the votes on the reports, which will be a very special moment. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all there. It will also be formally the last meeting of our committee, which I'm sure we're all going to miss very much. So thank you all for your attention, and we see each other in Strasbourg again on the 8th of May. Thank you.